They didn't ban pork because it was dirty. They banned it because they thought pigs were spiritually dangerous. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus doesn't just cast demons out of a man. He casts them into a herd of pigs, which then commit mass suicide by drowning. That one story shaped 3,000 years of dietary law, fueled religious wars, and led to people being tortured, yes, tortured, for refusing to eat ham. This wasn't about health. This was about identity, fear, and weaponized religion. People were literally burned alive over bacon. And the reason? Has nothing to do with worms. Welcome to the strangest, darkest, and most bizarre reason you've ever heard for a food ban, and how it changed the world. Pork wasn't just banned, it was demonized. Sometimes, literally. Long before modern hygiene, ancient and medieval cultures blamed pigs for everything from disease to heresy to spiritual corruption. And the reasons? Not what your Sunday school teacher told you. This isn't about parasites. It's about power, purity, and fear. Jesus cast demons into pigs, and medieval theologians never got over it. The Gospel of Mark, chapter 5, tells the story of a man possessed by a legion of demons. Jesus drives them into a herd of 2,000 pigs, which immediately fling themselves off a cliff and drown. This wasn't interpreted as a symbolic gesture. Oh no. For medieval Christians, this was proof that pigs were spiritual sponges, a creature so foul that demons would feel at home inside it. Theologians doubled down. By the 6th century, pigs were seen as walking temptations, vessels of unclean spirits, which meant eating pork wasn't just bad hygiene. It was fraternizing with evil. When Leviticus called pork unclean, it wasn't because Moses knew about parasites. Ancient Jewish dietary laws grouped animals based on ritual purity, not bacteria. Cows were in, pigs were out. Why? Because pigs had cloven hooves but didn't chew cud, a technicality that got interpreted as a moral flaw. That's all it took. From there, Jewish tradition made pork the symbol of everything unholy. By the time the Maccabees revolted in 167 BCE, Jews were literally being executed for refusing to eat pork in public. This wasn't about health. It was about refusing to bow to imperial power. Pork became the edible line in the sand. When Islam emerged in the 7th century, it inherited and reinforced the pork taboo, this time with Quranic authority. Indeed, it is forbidden to you. Dead meat, blood, the flesh of swine. Quran 2:173. But while the rule matched Jewish law, the reasoning added a new twist. Pigs were not only dirty, they were disrespectful, gluttonous, unhygienic, prone to rooting in filth. It was moral disgust dressed as divine command. And unlike some early Christian sects that waffled on pork, Islamic law stuck hard. In many Muslim societies, eating pork could get you exiled. Or worse, early Christians were split. The Apostle Paul famously declared all foods clean in Romans 14. But not everyone agreed. Some Christian sects, especially in Egypt and Syria, continued avoiding pork for centuries. Then came the medieval period, where logic took a vacation. Some theologians saw pork as a test of faith. Others claimed it made people spiritually sluggish. Monastic rules forbade it on holy days. Butchers selling pork during Lent were fined or excommunicated. One bishop in 10th century France ordered public penance, barefoot walks, and beatings for anyone caught serving pork on Easter, because nothing says resurrection like bacon-based punishment. In 15th century Spain, refusing to eat pork was proof you were lying about your religion. During the Spanish Inquisition, Jews and Muslims who'd converted to Christianity, called conversos, were watched obsessively. The test? Did they eat pork? On feast days, inquisitors held public pork roasts and invited the recently baptized. Decline the pork, and you were hauled in for questioning. Accept it, and you betrayed centuries of family tradition. Either way, someone got tortured. pork became a theological landmine. One slip of the fork, and you could be burned alive. Medieval peasants didn't care about demon pigs. They wanted to eat, and pigs were cheap. You could feed them scraps, let them root in the woods. Unlike cows, pigs didn't need fields or herders. In Anglo-Saxon England, pigs roamed royal forests marked with ear notches, like medieval barcodes. Kings passed laws to regulate pig foraging seasons, known as pannage. But when religious bans tightened, a black market in pork emerged. Monks snuck sausages into their cells. Farmers disguised pigs as sheep. In one notorious 12th century case, a bishop had to issue an edict against cloistered bacon. Because yes, that was a thing. In the Middle Ages, St. Anthony became the patron saint of pigs, because he ran a hospital where pigs roamed freely and supposedly healed the sick. How? Don't ask. Medieval medicine was just vibes. The Antonine monks branded their pigs with a cross and let them wander towns begging for scraps, legally protected by the church. It was religious pork welfare, but it also meant pigs wandered into homes, churches, and markets. Diseases like trichinosis and cystic urcosis spread. Eventually, cities started banning pigs from the streets, but not for health reasons. It was because one walked into a church during Mass and knocked over a statue. Swine desecration was the final straw. In Eastern Europe, things took an even weirder turn. Christian rulers used forced pork consumption as political punishment. In 14th century Lithuania, pagan prisoners were given pork, and if they refused, it proved they hadn't truly converted. Those who accepted were paraded in public, humiliated as traitors to their old faiths. Pork wasn't just food, it was a surveillance tool. Entire cities staged meat-based loyalty tests. Refusing pork meant prison or death. Eating it meant spiritual disgrace. Either way, people lost. Because apparently nothing says moral clarity, like making a man eat a pork chop at sword point. Only in the 19th century did doctors begin linking undercooked pork to trichinosis, a parasitic infection that causes muscle pain, fever, and even death. Finally, pork had a medical red flag. But instead of replacing religious reasons, science was used to justify them retroactively. "See?" said preachers. "God knew all along." Except no one banning pork in the Bronze Age had a microscope. This was a divine law reverse-engineered into science. Ironically, by the time this was discovered, pork sanitation had improved dramatically. So we got to keep the bacon and the guilt. In the modern world, pork is both sacred and sinful, depending on your zip code. In some countries, bacon is breakfast. In others, it's blasphemy. Ultra-Orthodox Jewish groups still inspect food factories for microscopic pork residue. Halal inspectors check every sausage for porcine DNA. Meanwhile, medical science uses pig heart valves in human surgeries. Pig skin is used in burn treatment. Pig genes are helping grow lab-grown organs. The animal once considered the dirtiest is now saving lives. And still, some people flinch at a pork chop like it's radioactive. Maybe it's not the meat we fear. Maybe it's the centuries of baggage cooked into it. We still argue over what's clean and unclean. Only now it's gluten-free, keto, or GMOs. But pork's story reminds us that what we eat is rarely just about taste or health. It's about who we are, who we aren't, and who gets to decide. Same arguments, different plates. And bacon? Still controversial. Go figure.